Hello. Are we live? I think we're live.
Nobody knows.
Nobody
How,
actually knows, right?
how could we know if we were live?
It sounds like I'm getting some feedback from the Twitch channel, so we're good. We are live. Welcome everybody to this episode of AWS Howdy Partner. We're super excited to have today ChaosSearch. So for those of you all who are watching about a month and a half or so ago, you may see some familiar faces. In fact, I think all four of us should be semi-familiar. Sure, we're household names by now, right?
Just you, Taz. Just you.
Not yet. Still working on my star meter there. I haven't seen my name appear on looking at that IMDb star meter. I think I'm trending up, but yeah. So we're excited to have ChaosSearch with us today. Do you all want to go ahead and just give some quick introductions?
Sure. I'll start. Thomas Hazel, the founder, CTO, chief nerd, the guy with the crazy idea of transforming S3 into a really cool thing. So we'll get into it in a moment.
Yeah. And you are on mute.
First blunder.
It's okay.
As I was saying.
We'll be smooth sailing from here.
Yeah. My name's Kevin Davis, and I run the solutions architect team.
Awesome. And for those of you who are just joining the first time, my name is Taz Miller. I'm a partner solutions architect here at AWS, and we have the famous, the one and only AM.
Yeah.
That's you. Yeah.
Oh, that's me.
He is also a partner solutions architect. So today, we've got an exciting topic to talk with you about. And to start off, I've got a brief little presentation for everyone. So, wow, I can't see my mouse on my Mac anymore. That's weird.
Do you need to?
I think that GUIs might be overrated, right?
I think it's actually the chaos effect, right? When we do these things, we always have the chaos effect, aka, I don't know, the gremlins, right?
You put it into your name. You put it into your name, Thomas. I mean.
Right. Well, okay. The mouse has reappeared, it looks like. So we're good to go.
Okay.
So to start off, if any of you on the stream are like me, when you think logs, you think of something kind of like what you see on the screen right now. You know, just chaos coming through. It's an apt name that you guys are ChaosSearch. It's just this mumble jumble of everything. You know, whether it be security logs, application logs, whatever you're logging, it can sometimes seem like a jumbled mess, and you may not really know what to do about it. And in fact, a lot of times when you're developing an application, all of the logging and everything like that and the analysis of those can kind of come as a second thought, because the effort to implement a good logging solution and searching solution can be quite difficult. You know, the ideal, what I think everybody wants to do is they want to take that jumbled mess and they want to be able to turn it into something that they can quickly gain insights from. You know, graphs or summary tables or whatever fits your business needs. So, you know, to go from those logs to this can be pretty difficult. And some smart people in our past came up with this thing called the elk stack. And for those of you unfamiliar with that, one of the founding members of the elk stack is Elasticsearch. Now, Elasticsearch is an extremely powerful tool for being able to parse through text-based log files, being able to search through text-based searching, and all those types of things. But it can be a little bit difficult to go from something like this. You know, you're just streams of logs with numbers and commands and what have you, and turn it into something like this. And this is actually the K of the elk stack. This is a Kibana dashboard. And so this is ideally what you want to do, and the elk stack is a fantastic way to do that. The trouble is even though we have this great way of getting from jumbled mess to here, just implementing those Elasticsearch clusters and then the Kibana dashboards, like that can actually be in and of itself a pretty hectic job. It may feel a little bit like you're in one of these, Concorde jet with 1,000 buttons that you're trying to flip all the switches, you're trying to optimize, you're trying to grow your clusters, you're trying to, optimize everything. And if you have ever at any point thought to yourself, like, I never want to manage an Elasticsearch cluster myself again, there is good news for you. There is, in fact, a better way to log. And that's what we have ChaosSearch on here with us for, is they have an incredible product that takes a lot of that undifferentiated heavy lifting away from you. And it allows you to just go from chaos and into business insights. And so with that, I'd like to turn the time over to ChaosSearch to talk a little bit about what it is that makes you guys so great.
Awesome. Hey, thanks. And the return of ChaosSearch. I know I had a Star Wars theme last time. I'm not going to bring it up again. Obviously, I don't break any copyright laws, but we had an awakening, within the Force, if you will. And I won't bring up any.
You were really asking for Twitch to take us down again, apparently.
But seriously, as you guys have said, the chaos of all this data, and the premise behind ChaosSearch was, what if you made analytics as easy it is to dump data into object storage like Amazon's S3? Imagine if you could just transform that storage into analytical insights via log analysis, via the elk stack, which now has become like air. It's just the de facto standard, particularly within the open source community. And now, Amazon has their own service, and it's everywhere. And so our premise was, with our unique technology and architecture, we could turn the customer's S3 storage and all that data that's being streamed into it, really all roads lead to S3. We've heard it. It's now true. This data lake philosophy that everyone wants to enable, but at ChaosSearch we unlock it. So what our service does is we connect to your S3 buckets through read-only roll-on access, and we discover what you have. We catalog it. We actually index the data in place, store those indices back into your account, and we publish the Elastic API. We integrate Kibana, actually the open distros from Amazon's Kibana, into our offering, because it's such a great offering that it is. And the idea that you have your S3 data, you simply stream in, and we take over, and you use the exact same APIs, the exact same use case for your log analysis, DevOps, SecOps. But the real big premise is your storage, our service, your use case.
Yeah, I think that's a really important differentiator there. There are a lot of ways, or a lot of other services out there to help establish these like elk stacks for you, but a lot of times you end up shifting your data over there to run on their infrastructure. As you just said, like you have ownership of that data throughout. It is in your S3 buckets from start to finish.
And we all know that scaling data is hard. Even if as a managed service, it still becomes complicated with their schema management, sharding. We take that over for you, where the idea is that you can have 1 terabyte of data or 1 petabyte data and keep on streaming it into your service. With our cost-effective, ease of use service, you get the elk experience all on your ownership. No data movement, no physical ETL to clean it up. It's like, imagine this, right? And that's what we've done. And the key thing is that you don't change how you do things, you just change where you do it. And actually, it's in your object storage, S3.
That's awesome. I'm curious, what is the biggest cluster that you are aware of that you guys are running at the moment?
So we do petabytes of data. So our classic perfect customer is anyone doing a terabyte of data and up per day. So if you have that much data over long periods of time, so whether it's 1 week, 2 months, 1 year, that's where we really shine, because sometimes Elk, as we all know, gets cost prohibitive at that scale. And the ability to instantly add more workloads, add more data, your service doesn't change, our service doesn't change. So if you're doing 10 terabytes, 20 terabytes a day or more or up, we're the solution for you, because the cost, the pain, the data movement, the complexity of schema management, we remove all that and really automate that whole process.
Yeah, that's something that Kevin and I were talking about before the stream started, that I think, Kevin, you're going to show us a little bit about. Saving money is something that you all are very, very equipped to do at ChaosSearch. And I think that's really important at any time, but definitely nowadays. Reducing costs, reducing spend. It's a big topic for a lot of people.
It's really about cost per question, right? So people always talk about performance, but what was that cost of the performance? To me, big data, performance is not an issue anymore. It's the cost of that performance, and that's where we come in. We provide you that performance with a relatively unique cost point, which, again, if you look at our website and you look at our pricing, it's quite unique within the market. You know, the real magic for us was creating a new technology and architecture to really turn on the power of S3. It's infinitely scalable, durable, secure, as we know, cost effective, but it's kind of, I can be so frank, dumb, right? And so a lot of people use it as a staging ground or archiving to move it into another system to make it hot or high performance. So our premise is we allow you to transform your object storage into a high performance Elk cluster, but with our service. And that's really the 1, 2, 3 punch.
I'd be curious too to hear your opinions, Kevin and Thomas. I think there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of products and a lot of ways to address compute workload cost, right? Like, and containers or serverless, these are both great ways to avoid the mutable servers that just grow and you can only scale them horizontally, and they end up costing you way much, even in the cloud, way more money than you probably need to spend on them. So there's been like tons of innovation, I feel like, in that space. But in terms of data and data, not just storing the data, right? I think there's been plenty of things, even in AWS, we've got Glacier, we've got, infrequent access, all these different storage categories. But then actually working with that data, all the time, that's when things start to get really expensive.
Yeah,
usually.
So there's been some innovation, right? Serverless, as you talk about, separating storage from compute. Here's the problem. The underlying computer science is still 30 years old, whether B trees, inverted indices, LSMs, skip lists, bloom builders, you name it, you've heard it. The problem is at certain scale, it gets very expensive to add additional compute or to scale that compute out. And so our premise was, let's go from base principles. What if we created a new index technology that made data smarter than gzip, but unlocked it like a database index that supported both text search and relational analytics? What if on the same representation? What if we remove the sharding requirement? What if you could leverage pure S3 object storage as your primary backend store? No block storage, no extra cache memory. What if you could do it on pure S3 object storage? And that's why we are unique, is because we have all the benefits of serverless. We do containerization as well. We separate storage from compute. The trick is we don't use Lucene. And if everyone who's from this Elk world knows Lucene, that you index data fully, 1 terabyte become 2 terabytes, become 3 terabytes. It's supposed to go the other way, right? Most databases make data smaller, but the problem is as you over-index the data, it slows down, increases size, you start to shard. So our premise was a new index technology that fully indexes, that reduces the data, but supports those use cases like Elk, and as we talked about on our first cast BI, which we'll pause on that.
Cool. Kevin, I know you've got a lot of stuff to show us today, don't you? You were the first time, as Thomas put it. I love that phrasing. That's great. We were right in the middle of your demo, so I think it's only fair to cede the time over to you. honestly, and get us right into that.
Start from where we left off and stitch them together, or
let's just kick it off from the start, man. Let's
throw a recap for the new viewers.
hopefully I share the right screen.
Hey.
Everyone sees right?
Let me.
Yes, yeah, and then we'll switch over on video for you.
Yep.
Perfect.
So for anybody just joining us on the stream today, we are AWS Howdy Partner. If you've never watched the show before, we are a show that highlights all of the partners in the partner network here at AWS. Taz and I, Taz's top right corner, we're both AWS employees. And the top left and bottom right, we've got Kevin and Thomas, both from ChaosSearch, which Kevin is about to give us an in-depth and hands-on demo of what ChaosSearch is, what it can do for you. And if you've got data that you need to work with at scale, it's probably a pretty good solution for you. So you should pay attention.
Yeah. Awesome. So as Thomas had mentioned at the beginning, the way that we get all of our customers kind of set up and deployed is through an IAM role and policy. So there's no agents, there's no collectors or anything like that to install through the actual infrastructure. So once that is all set up and taken care of, then what we'll do is we'll list out all the S3 buckets that we have access to within the policy itself. And then from there, we'll go ahead and we'll have our customers start creating object groups. So for this storage section here, and for our customers that are creating object groups, for everyone on the stream today, really those object groups are indices that you'll search against within our Kibana instance, which again, as Thomas had mentioned, is through and by OpenDistro. So we'll go through and we'll actually create that object group itself.
Real quick, Kevin, do you mind making this a little bit bigger?
Oh, yeah.
Couple.
Tell me when. It's like the Parmesan piece.
Right? Hold on. I think that's great. That's perfect. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So once we go ahead and get the actual filter set up, so for this example, we'll work on our ELB logs. Most of our customers have this type of setup within S3 where they leverage the prefix, and then underneath that prefix, they'll just dump all the logs in there, or whatever data source that they're looking to store for longer periods of time. We do have the ability, though, to use regex filters. So if there isn't this type of structure within S3, we can still group files together. And then we also have the ability to use tagging or the metadata of those objects, and then group those files together that way as well. So from there, what we'll do is the system will immediately identify the specific format we're working with. From here, we'll support CSV, JSON, and certainly log. Most of our customers log everything in JSON, and AWS services do a really good job of packaging most of the services up and output them to S3 in JSON anyway. So very easy for us to work with any of our customers' AWS logs out of the box. And then we'll also identify whether or not those are gzipped or compressed in any specific way. Now this part's going to get a little tricky because it's really big on my screen and it might fit really well on everybody else's.
It's looking good, I think, from what I see.
Perfect. So what you also have the capability to do is, so in the app, instead of having to, especially in the log format specifically, instead of having to go through and take out the text files and put them into something like a regex 101 or something else to structure a regex and parse that data, we allow you to do that directly in the app itself and then identify what those captured groups are. And certainly my team, our customer success team, we work with all of our customers, during the proof of concept as well as onboarding and even after that to get these regexes structured and created. But obviously the nice part is you only have to do it once. There's no need to continuously recreate these regexes for specific log formats.
And I'll jump in. One thing that I'll jump in on is when we create this initial object grouping that models the initial data that we see there, as data changes over time, our service manages the schema over time. You do not have to worry about redefining the schema. We actually have in data, and Kevin will get into this, a data refinery that does post transformations. So I guess the point is that really set it and forget it is a key aspect to our offering.
Yep, exactly. And then as we go through and we create the object group itself, one of the final steps is to kind of define some parameters. One of the options that we have for indexing, and we actually have 3 options, which is pretty unique. So really the one I'm going through and creating right now, this is a quote unquote static index. So it's going to take all the files from at this point in time all the way until the very first file that's been put in there that I've selected through that filtering. It'll index all of those. If I want to continuously index data as it's being sent into S3, kind of like a passive approach where that latency is going to be around 30 to 45 seconds, I can create and define a live indexing setup here. And then if I want that real-time experience like I have with my current Elastic deployment, I can go ahead and configure a real-time setup and then search data as it's being indexed within 3 to 4 or 6 seconds as that's being sent directly to us and then directly to S3. That's one of the newer features we've come up with that a lot of our customers are excited about, and certainly we're excited about. Thomas, I don't know if you want to talk more about that and what.
Yeah, I mean, so the great thing about S3, I'm gonna talk about S3 all day long because I love it, right? Is that the ability to store so much data. It's really a queue, right? And so if you have terabytes of data, and you have Kafka worrying about keeping things up, and just stream it to S3. If you have these big pipes to stream it to S3, we'll pick that up. For anything that needs some real-time notification, use the real-time object grouping because they're both groupings, right? Grouping on S3, grouping the API puts, if you will, on Elasticsearch. But in the end, it's the exact same index technology that we're using. It's the exact same APIs. And then we'll get into the refinery. You create a view to bring those 2 data sources together to ultimately have an index pattern that you're doing the analysis on.
Yep. And then the last bit is you get the ability to define an index retention period. So if you think of like the index lifecycle management policies that you set up within Elasticsearch or the Elk stack itself, this is kind of mimicking that, where our system will automatically rotate out those old daily indices. But certainly, the benefit of ChaosSearch is it's your data. You store as much as you want. We allow you to search it for as long as you want because all of that data is being stored directly in S3 itself.
And just so a lot of people say, well, how much is it going to cost me to store data in S3 versus, say, some SSDs or whatever? Our compression ratio is gzip or better. So think about that compared to, say, Lucene indices where you can figure out what size you want to do per cluster. That's the cost. So if you have a terabyte of data that gzips and, say, 200 megabytes, we're that or a little bit lower compared to Lucene, where it could be 2, 3, 4x that size. So from a cost size perspective, ChaosSearch is a right fit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about it this way: you're getting 5 terabytes for the cost of 1 terabyte stored in S3 every month. So as you increase that daily, monthly, and then over a couple of years, we have some of our customers searching over hundreds of terabytes and then certainly petabytes worth of data that they can make use out of, and they don't have to worry about, as Thomas had mentioned, sharding, replication, storage, block storage, SSDs, HDDs, any of that additional cost or overhead. It's just stored directly in S3 itself.
And I'll just double down. One more thing I got to add is because we fully index everything, you index once and you never go back. So a lot of people choose, because of the cost of the storage and compute, you select certain attributes that you want to keep and you go, shoot, I could have used that. Let me go re-index it. Our premise is index everything, and our unique compression will keep it small and cost effective.
So the live indexing feature, that's the new feature?
Yeah, we have a couple new features in Q2, or now it's almost Q3, but that was an important one. We really wanted to focus when we first came out on scaling S3 and the ability to use SQS notification and pull out of S3 directly. And then we're always going to have a real-time component. We call it real-time, but the idea that your Elastic puts that you do today, you just send it through your standard Elastic API. And what we do is we write the indices into your S3 account. So instead of reading from S3, indexing and writing it back to your account, it goes directly into us, into your account.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And obviously that gives us the benefit of speed of notification, right? So latency is dramatically smaller.
So
Yeah,
for those on the stream who maybe have never even done any kind of elk stack related work, could you just describe like what is meant by indexing? Like,
Sure.
Why is that necessary, and what's the point of indexing the data?
No, it's a great question. So, database, if you think about how do you store data and make it fast to search and query, often there's a term called indexing the data to make a search or query fast, efficient. You can actually do brute force. If you guys know grep on the line here, it takes a lot of time to find a terabyte of data via grep. Bad idea, right? So companies create solutions like databases to index data to make those searches fast. So what Chaos has done is created a new novel index that supports all these ELK use cases. So ELK uses Lucene, which is a text search index. But although it's all its power of the hunt, the search, it has a real cost and complexity on the other side.
Got it.
And I was going to ask as a follow-up as well, so with the new live indexing, what types of use cases do you expect your customers to be able to solve with this new feature now?
Do you want to talk to it, or Kevin, I can?
Yeah, I mean, so we've always had live indexing where it's that, any new create or put event within S3 sends a message to an SQS queue, and we continuously index data, where, that becomes available to search again, within about 30 to 45 seconds. The real-time configuration where we utilize either the ES bulk API or a pre-existing Logstash configuration, the real-time setup for a lot of our customers is going to help them as they're troubleshooting their actual applications real-time for all of their engineers and developers, but also as they're doing, health checks on different, sales systems that they're running through all their different retail stores. So it's that kind of increased speed that our customers are going to take advantage of to utilize the alerting within Kibana that we have through OpenDistro to be more proactive in responding to incidents as they occur, but again, not having to manage, all the additional hardware and overhead that goes with all of that.
And I got to give another props to Amazon, the OpenDistro, where you made open that functionality that we could adopt as part of the community. So not all alerting functionality is open and free. So again, props to OpenDistro for making that available, and we've integrated with it.
Yeah, I'll drop a link in the Twitch chat about OpenDistro for anybody who hasn't seen it before. But recently, in the past probably a year and a half or so, if I had to get, maybe 2 years now. It's hard to keep track of time these days. But yeah, AWS, brought to market its own fork of the Elasticsearch distribution, OpenDistro for Elasticsearch. So I'll drop that in chat for anybody who's more curious. I think, the use case that you highlighted, Kevin, is one for anybody in chat who's never touched Elasticsearch. It's like the golden use case. I feel like the one that everybody talks about is application logs, right? And getting insight out of all these disparate systems. If you're running microservices, if you're running in an orchestrator, like I keep seeing Kubernetes in your log in your left hand pane there, Kevin. Like once you are running in these distributed systems, and logs are coming from all these different places, you have to have some sort of centralized location to aggregate these logs, right? And oftentimes,
I'll jump in. Being a developer of this service, we generate logs too. Right. So we use ChaosSearch. We are the most distributed system out there. I mean, we are distributed database people through and through. Let's just be clear. And we use ChaosSearch to do the hunt ourselves. Think about all the developers that we have where they create all these unique logs, all these situations. Sure, alerting is good for operational, but I mean, if you're building an app, particularly microservice, we have all these things going on, the ability to find, to hunt, then to aggregate. I mean, this is why ELK and Elasticsearch took off. Let's just be clear. The ability to hunt in these wildcard prefixing, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I think I know sort of, is a really powerful aspect. And so we use our own service to monitor and watch and debug our solution.
Yeah, and the cool thing too, I know, running through, demonstrations of the product and helping get customers onboarded, one of the cool things is we index every available field within the log file itself. We account for schema changing over time. We account for schema increasing, whatever is going to, change within the schema we've planned for. I mean, I created an object group or an index within 5 minutes. So I could theoretically go through, have an entire business up and running, and then everyone knows how many and how much logging Kubernetes generates. So I could get an entire Kubernetes cluster up and indexed and running within 5-6 minutes. I can get my DNS, my VPC flow logs, my ELB logs, my CloudTrail logs all up and running within, say, 10 minutes and have full visibility across my entire infrastructure and not have to purchase any additional hardware or compute or anything else like that. Just simply send everything to S3, which pretty much everyone does anyways, to make sure that they have data if they actually need it, or just, in case something comes up. Why not make use of it and remove all the headaches and the complexity and the alerts at 3 o'clock in the morning and just simply stream it into S3, make use of it, and start asking questions and doing whatever it is you want with your data to make sense of it.
And just that, and kept on getting to the refinery, but once you have all these independent streams, which you want independent, you go to the refinery, you create a lens or a view across the entire thing, and maybe you're hunting for an IP across all your data sources. Within 30 seconds, you create a wizard walkthrough, and now you have a new index pattern within Elasticsearch to find things. So maybe, Kevin, it's worth jumping into the refinery.
Yeah, so I mean, if you have, say, for example, I know we're running through our ELB logs, but one of the recent examples was CloudTrail. So if we wanted to take our CloudTrail object group that we created in the storage section, but allow the DevOps and SRE team to search and interact with that data differently than we would the security team, because they want to see who exactly is doing what through the console itself and which APIs they're executing, I can simply take one index, associate the appropriate time period for that, then create 2 different views without having to re-index or create another index or anything like that within Elasticsearch. I just simply point, click, add, and then go from there. And then if I wanted to expand on that, so say, for example, with that one that we were working with, the SRE team, instead of running all that additional compute in Logstash servers to transform data, they can simply select the field that they want, input a regex. They can add 3 new materialized fields, and then we can take this one field, turn it into 3, and then build different visualizations, reports, dashboards, as well as alerts on this information. And again, not have to re-index, run any ETL jobs, additional compute or processing to do this, just simply do it in the application itself. It sends it out directly to all of our edge workers or compute that we're running. You can make it case insensitive. Again, just associate the timestamp, and then from there we can go ahead and have our DevOps, ELB, Twitch logs.
And I'd like to jump in. So one thing that's unique about our technology is every query or search is late materialized. What I mean by that is that the ability to do virtual transform without physical ETLing is a major part of our architecture and offering. So imagine if you have a petabyte of data and it's not in the right shape that you want. You may use, say, EMR, you take it all out, you manipulate it, you put it back all in, and then you index it again. I mean, that's time consuming, it's costly. What if you could do all that ETLing or that transformation virtually, logically, and then it shows up as an index pattern, or as we hinted before, tables in, say, SQL, all from the same exact index without having to move the data or physically transform the data?
You two have said ETL 3 times, which immediately triggers me getting sent back through time into my pro serve job at a different company, and the nightmare begins again of me having to write a bunch of ETL jobs. I never want to write an ETL job ever again, and this is amazing. I think that's something too to highlight, is that just moving data costs a lot of money, like, period.
Oh, yeah.
Cost, complexity, the 3 things that we really focus on, right? So, if you know Kibana, you know us. But what you don't know about us is those 3 vectors that we really care about, what we're really focused on.
Yeah, I mean, moving data, as everyone knows, increases the security landscape. Yes, there are a lot of companies out there that have separated storage from compute. They've done a lot of unique things, but nobody actually allows you to keep data in place to do those transformations or to search on. You still need to move it into their warehouse or into their product or solution to actually do anything with it. Ours,
we have role-based access control. But one thing that we sell is the ability through S3 is storage-based isolation. The idea that you create policies, you provide access controls where it lives, not at the edges. So think of the security aspect of that. It's quite unique, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And one thing that I really like about this is one of the best practices that we always teach our partners and customers is, you should have things like CloudTrail on in every region of your account. And, like even as part of for APM partners, as part of the baseline review, that's one of the check marks that we look for. But this takes that a step further. It's it's great to go turn on CloudTrail, but if you've ever gone into those that bucket and tried to click through, you're not going to get any insights out of it by just clicking through S3. That's not practical for anybody. And so this is where this is a great use case of taking that a step further.
Well, and to add, imagine if you don't have the time to set up your cluster, right? But you know that data is important. Make sure it's being streamed to S3. Make sure you always have it, because you can do a petabyte of indexing very quickly with us. Not that you have that much CloudTrail, but let's just say you had terabytes. Just make sure it's in your S3. Make sure you're storing it so that Chaos at any point in time can index it and you can analyze it immediately. Let alone doing the live indexing where it's always available on your whim.
Yeah, and that's huge because, one of the big reasons you have CloudTrail is for auditing purposes. Unfortunately, a big reason for it is, maybe something went wrong and you need to go back and see what it was. If you don't have a good indexing solution in place, you're going to be digging for a long time. And being able to just quickly, get that index is awesome.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not everything happens within 30 days or 14 days.
Yeah.
Or 5 days.
Right.
We find that when people come to Chaos, they say, you know what, I have about 100 terabytes of logs over 3 years. Can I have some kind of deal where you index that, for a certain price as well as moving forward? Because there are so many people that we've talked to that have all this data they have questions about. We actually have one customer where they had about 100 terabytes and they knew they had a bug. And they knew that it was going to cost them a lot of money to analyze this data to find that bug. And within a day, with our service, very cost effectively, they indexed it within a couple hours. They looked at the problem. They solved it. It was a 3-year-old bug. And there's a lot of data out there that developers could love to touch. Imagine if they had the power to do it themselves, where they had to call everyone and say, hey, can we do this? If it's an S3, you can.
That's pretty impactful. I mean, yeah. I can't imagine tracking that down over that long of a time period. That's amazing.
Time is so fast. That'd be crazy. Going back 3 years, over 3 years worth of logs, that's pretty awesome.
And we open up the possibilities. So what you see here is you see Open Distro Kibana. Nothing's changed, but we've extended, and you can see this in our console. We have a progress bar of how long the query is going to take, aka how much work or workers we put onto that query. We have an intelligent query engine that can put n number of workers to resolve a query in a second, 30 seconds, depending on how you want to configure it. But the idea is that you know how long it's going to take. And I know Kevin's going to go there, the ability to cancel. Whoops, you had a query over 3 years, and it was always like a 10 megs of data. It was okay, but you changed that query index pattern. It was a petabyte, and now you put your cluster to its knees because you have uncontrollable query.
Right.
Just like that. So instead of 15 years for some reason that somebody mixed up, they can do 15 months, 15 minutes, cancel it, and then we'll immediately drop that query and go from there.
And for anybody that's doing we work with our customers to make sure that we make available enough compute for their workloads. Although it is dynamic, we do use auto-scale groups to manage that compute. But we have the ability to burst additional compute, where the idea is that you know what, maybe I'm doing some large aggregations over a longer period of time. Maybe I'll burst an additional compute. So it's a cost effective to us, cost effective to you. And as we grow, mature this product even further, we're going to even have to provide additional controls through the ability to really supercharge your queries when you wish to. And maybe Susie gets high, Bobby gets low. Really have the ability to control the execution of those larger execution patterns.
Yeah, and this is really a part I wanted to focus on, where if we're doing a query over 15 months and we're looking at just to start an ELB status code of 404, and we want to iterate on this search even more, down here we list out how many actual units or compute units that we have allocated. So the cool thing and the unique thing with our service is, as we go through and we start to filter on this information, if I want to actually take away or remove a lot of these actual compute resources that are available, I can go ahead and simply run a command. I'll reduce it from 36 down to 0, and then I can go ahead and pull in at that point on-demand compute. So for any reason, if workers went away and were going and running searches or having dashboards refresh or alerts are running, there's always going to be kind of service in the background to make sure that there's compute available. So as Thomas had mentioned, if you're going through and you're running a query, instead of that query crippling an elastic cluster or causing pain or causing slowness for other users, our system just simply utilizes auto scaling groups and other technologies to replace that compute, but we also expect it to go away and for nodes to come offline and all that.
Yeah, it's an important point. Whether it's index workers or query workers, every worker can die, every node can die. We expect it. We're a stateless system where S3 is the source of truth. I'm going to keep on saying S3 over and over again. But your point about Kevin is that we have the ability to control through APIs the compute. So for customers that want a more integrated solution, they can control their compute through APIs, as well as more embedded solutions where they want to have different people having different allocation patterns, and but the idea is that it's just bump it up, bump it down, assign who has it, who has what. Our technology, our data fabric, has the ability to steal, to burst, to lease. So even if, let's say, you only had, 20% of the compute allocated to you that your company reserved for yourself, if no one's on the system, we can burst out to all 100%. And then the idea that if someone comes in to index, maybe we can steal from that all dynamically. That's a very, very powerful distributed thought, like an OS would. You can think of our fabric as a distributed OS that does work, that executes work, where again, every thread, every worker can die, and you won't know any difference between indexing or querying. So that's a very resilient thing. If you're familiar with ELK and it falling over, we've heard, I know you guys, Pete Chess, like you like to say, ELK gets sad sometimes, and it's the truth. And so this is where we really focus a lot of our energy and effort around the ChaosSearch solution.
Yeah, and that becomes even more important during indexing, right? Where if you have specific security logs or event logging that you're doing or application logging that you're doing for PCI or any other types of compliance, you can't lose data. I mean, if you do, you have to report it, and in some cases, if you do report it and it's consistent, you have to pay a fine. So if you're sending data to S3 and ChaosSearch, if we for some reason didn't index a file the first 2 or 3 times because we have a retry mechanism in there, the file's still stored in S3, so you still have the ability to pull that file up if you ever need it. In other systems, maybe not. I mean, it really depends on kind of what their architecture and systems are.
And that's a great thing about S3. It's a source of truth, right? And so if you have your data in S3, you're safe, it's redundant, resilient, you can do cross-region. I mean, all those hard things that people try to do in storage and in databases, we build off of the S3 functionality and features.
I feel like we've awed AM and Taz. They haven't said anything in a long time.
I'm wondering.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
just wondering if Thomas gets paid every time he says S3 by the S3 team. I don't know. Do you have some sort of contract with them?
I think they're gods. I got to tell you, I've gotten to know them, and they built a wonderful system. We all know, right? It's the cloud storage. It has changed everything, and it continues to. And we've been building off of that premise ever since.
Yeah, S3 is pretty mind-boggling actually with what it can achieve. It's amazing. Taz, what were you
I
going to say?
remember, yeah, so just on that note, I remember when I first started, interacting with AWS, and I thought S3, like, how much is there to it? It's a place where you put your stuff. Like I really did not acknowledge S3 for the incredible service it was at first. But yeah, it is amazing once you start looking more like under the hood a little bit. It's so powerful, and there are so many good use cases, especially when you can.
And that's
tie it in with this.
its power is distributed nature, distributed hash, all those wonderful things. The problem is databases like blocks, right? They like block storage.
Yep.
And so our premise was, well, you can't use existing computer science because it was designed for that scenario. Sure, you can put everything in memory, but hey, how much cache do you have on hand, right? So the idea was that really build a solution and technology around really a website, because S3, right, is a REST-based access to information, and databases weren't really designed to leverage that type of construct. And that's what we focused on, is the S3 nature, S3's benefits, and then we just build off from that. And so to us, to you, the customer, it's the same, but the marriage, the fusion of object storage and S3 to the Elastic API and Kibana is the 1-2 punch.
Yeah, for sure. So one question that I had as we were going through all of this is, you mentioned, you can be pulling in all of these things, doing all of your analytics and everything. Is there a way to be able to monitor and alert yourself, if like basically proactively looking for something and then alert yourself if it's uncovered?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the features that we were able to pull in with Open Distro, as well as role-based access control. So what some of our customers will do is they'll go in here. So if you're making the switch over from Elasticsearch, it's similar to like XBAC licensing. If you're new to kind of all of the Kibana, Elasticsearch, Logstash deployments in our platform, it's simply just called alerting. So you can go through, you can create what's called monitors, and monitors kind of act as an umbrella. So one monitor will have many triggers. So a common example that I'll use is if we want to have status code as the monitor, you can utilize either a visualization graph or an extraction query. So for visualization graphs, if you want to take a look at trends over time, so instead of the last hour, give this a second here, and we'll say over the last 60 days, anytime, status code 404. That's basically the threshold that we're looking for. So anytime we've seen this over the last 60 days, then we want to see a notification. And then the trigger will actually define the threshold or the count. And then again, we have the ability to utilize an extraction query where if you were in Discover and you're just running a search or doing some debugging or just general search on data itself, it's going to return those same exact results. So from here, you have insight into what the available indexed fields are. Again, because we index every field, there's going to be a lot more enrichment and opportunity for you to get insight into what's actually going on. So if we just update this query here specifically, where again, if you're running queries through the API, whether it's us or Elastico or AWS Elasticsearch, it's going to be structured very similar, if not exactly the same. And then at that point, we just define that threshold period whenever we want that check to run for us so we can be proactive and get notifications. And then at that point, it's really just defining exactly what the notification is going to look like when we receive it, what severity we want to be identified with that, and then exactly where we want that to be sent. So if we say status 404, to Twitch, destination, send it to Slack. We do support custom webhooks. So if you want to send things to Opsgenie or PagerDuty or any other tool, you have the ability to do that. And then we can just say, Twitch is having a bad night. And then from there, we can structure this message however we want. So that way, when whoever gets that message, they have the information, the insight that they need to actually respond, take action against that. And then the unique thing too is if you wanted to see if there were trends in the past, or if you wanted to do a quick check and analysis on this particular one, once you create that trigger, it'll run that check for you, and then you'll have information and insight into exactly how many times that's happened.
I know Mo is going to, I know he's not watching right now, at least I don't see his name in chat, but Mo would be remiss, or would be upset with me, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that you all should consider adding event bridge support there for one of those alerting triggers. Or so I just shout out. I have to do it for Mo. I'm sorry, it's not even me. It's just Mo. Mo will come after me if I don't. Mo's another
That's
PSA
true.
host on Howdy Partner. We had some questions from chat actually. Tesseract wants to know about some integrations with any of the AWS machine learning services, or any kind of like trend prediction support that you all have in ChaosSearch or are thinking about. Maybe.
Yeah, so we have a roadmap, and maybe this is reach out to us. We actually have work integrating with the TensorFlow API. So we kind of see us as an API company. We're database people where we export APIs, Elastic, SQL, TensorFlow. So right now, that is our path. But we'd love to hear about integrating with some Amazon services to do any type of machine learning, because what we do well is we unlock data at scale. And so love to have them reach out to us and talk about how we're doing things in the predictive analytics space, as well as put things on a roadmap. Because again, we drive our roadmap through customer feedback, developer feedback. Love to hear more what they're looking for.
Yeah, so for those in chat, if you do have any of those types of things, feel free to put it into chat. We'd love to talk more about those things. And also just a quick reintroduction to the topic. For those of you who have just joined or recently joined, we are here with ChaosSearch, and we're talking about how to wrangle your S3 data. And the show is a Howdy Partner, and so we're a weekly show, and we invite our amazing AWS partners to come on to talk about their products.
So I think that's kind of our story, but really the big takeaway from our Chaos solution is the idea is simply stream your data into S3 with a read-only roll-on access to our service. We take over, we discover, we index. We have a data refinery to allow you to instantly transform your data to ultimately focus where you really want to, is analysis of your logs, analysis of your operational, of your business, get alerts. So that story arc of storage to refine to visualization is something quite unique, because we start with storage, right? We start with your storage that you own, and we put our indices into your account. So that journey really simplifies, as Kevin was indicating earlier, add a new workload in 5 minutes, whether you have another 20 terabytes to go and there's a new Nginx use case. Within 5 minutes, you're up and running. I mean, it boggles the mind. Imagine trying to scale 20 terabytes and get the config right, the hardware right, connect this cluster, hope it doesn't fall over, make sure the replication's working. I mean, think about that complexity and the responsibility. There's responsibility of that scale. This is where we shine. This is where we come in, as we mentioned earlier. If you do a terabyte or up of data per day, and you have retention of weeks, if not months, use S3, use Chaos. It's a marriage.
I just think of the Jira tickets. Whew, that's a lot of Jira tickets. That's a lot of Kanban and sprint boards and.
Well, when we come in, anyone who's running Elk, particularly on their own, is because they're doing big scale, and they know how many FTEs it takes to bring the Elk cluster back to life. And a lot of times that's not what you want to do. where it's falling over because maybe you have a denial of service attack, so your load is higher. Then you have query trying to figure out why it's happening. Then your load's even higher. You start ooming, you start dying, you start crashing. That's not where you want to be in the heat of the battle, right? And again, Elastic is a great tool, but managing at scale, as probably this community all knows, it's a wonderful expertise, and even with expertise, it's also a wonderful price.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you hear Jira tickets, I hear dollar signs for the people that you have to hire that have the Elasticsearch, experience.
One of the cool things too for people that that still want to be hands-on, but really more for our customers that have really strict, whether it's compliance and security standards, whatever it might be. We primarily go to market as a SaaS offering, but customers do have the ability to deploy this within their own VPC as well. So if you have those requirements, whether it's GovCloud, FedRAMP, your financial services organization, your credit card company, whatever it might be, you have the ability to still kind of take advantage of the ChaosSearch platform, even though you have those strict security requirements, and still not have to worry about sharding and replication and all of that, and really just deploy ChaosSearch within your own AWS VPC. We'll work with you, get it fully deployed and up and running, and then from there, you're managing chaos within your own environment, again, without all the headaches and the hardware and everything else, but still, getting that cost savings, that benefit, and still, staying in control of not only the data, but also the hardware as well, the requirements.
Yeah, and I'll just extend to that. Think of it, you're installing a SaaS within your VPC. So it has all those benefits, right? It's self-managed, any failures, any issues, it manages itself. So, for the right customer, for people who are security sensitive or have larger deployments, it is a good offering. Obviously, we want to work with you to deploy that, but, for our big partners and our people who really care about that, it's a great way to go.
Awesome. And so just to kind of refresh, if you're going for just like the SaaS offering, how does somebody get started doing that? What do you have? So I've got my AWS account, I have my CloudTrail logs. What do I do next?
Just simply click start a trial, and then we'll go ahead and get your account spun up. We just need to know the region that the S3 bucket's located in. That's the only kind of ask or requirement that we have on our end, because we deploy the compute in the same region. So that way there is no additional cost associated with ChaosSearch for our customers for AWS. So from there, once we have that region location, we'll spin up the account. You can start testing it, and then upload as much as 200 gigabytes of data on a daily basis to continuously search against and test it out.
And so when you first log into your account, after we quote unquote provision, it's a SaaS offering to us, but we add you as an account, you provide your read-only roll-on access and a location for us to write our indices in with a cloud formation template. So if you think about it, it's click, and now you have instant access to your data. So the time to get up and running, we've had customers do it within less than 2 minutes.
Awesome. And so on that previous screen, it looks like you even help, like if they're not maybe familiar with creating roles, it looks like you can actually just click open cloud formation, and then it'll create the required role for you. Is that what we're seeing here?
Yep, exactly.
And so
that's awesome.
The standard Amazon console will come up, right? You just click through your standard Amazon, you get that ID, you plug it in, it does it for you, and you're up and running.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the rules of, again, I'm going to talk nice about Amazon again, but the roll-on policies is really crucial to our offering, because the idea to control all those aspects of information is really a key point, and it's a selling point that we have to our customers, the ability to control what we see, what we have access to through their grants is a really powerful thing, and that obviously percolates all the way out to the service.
Right. And whether it's users or admins, I mean, users through role-based access control, we can limit, exactly what they see within the UI itself, what they can search on as far as indices that are available within the analytics section. But then again, through that policy, because you're only specifying the specific buckets we have access to, we're not going to be able to, even list out the objects within those different S3 buckets. So.
And we support single sign-on. So if you're comfortable with setting up that within your organization, or that's how your organization runs, you, the customer, can control access to your, let's call it, sub-users or employees at your company through a single sign-on protocol.
So in a use case like that, could I, using single sign-on, maybe AM's able to see different information through the ChaosSearch console than maybe I can, depending on our roles?
That's exactly right. So we have multiple roles, and Kevin, maybe you can even talk to it. We have the obviously admin role, which has certain privileges, but not all privileges necessarily. And then both from a storage perspective, a refinery perspective, a visualization, and then within the visualization and APIs, right?
Sure.
I'll show it. I just gotta find one thing, and then I can actually show what it would look like if AM had a different role. I just gotta log in.
Much higher role, much more elevated. I see a lot more data than Taz. I think that's the appropriate role for
me. Yeah.
That's definitely the same way to do it.
You see AM, it's star. That's right. By default, right? It's not off by default. It's all on, right? And
I like the sound of that. That sounds like I'm important or something.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Just so you know. Just so there's no confusion.
Okay, you can just make a special logs bucket just for me that just has one little text string or something in it that says hello Taz. Yeah, that'll be good enough for me.
Hello world Taz, trillion times, And for customers, as Kevin mentioned, we have our SaaS offering. We have what's called the VPC, where you install the SaaS within your VPC. A lot of our customers have been doing this, what we call embedded, where the idea that they take our SaaS and embed it within their product, and so they have customers. So a lot of this roll on and role-based access control is important, right? Because they want to provide access to their customers' data, and we see this time and time again. The idea that customers of ours want to provide the customer data to them, and the leveraging of S3 to enable that is such a natural act, right? And you create different folders per customer. Logical way to organize the data.
This is getting pretty meta. I feel like we should just pull up another Twitch stream and embed it inside of this Twitch stream so that it's, we're working with you, ChaosSearch, our partner, and then we pull in somebody that is one of your partners, and then they're in the tinier screen on the, it's great. Partners of partners.
That's how it's supposed to work, right?
All right, Taz, I created your account. So let me go ahead and get the sub-account ID, and then we'll log in.
Awesome.
So, on the fly demo.
Let's say AM has access to all of these things. And right now, this is API driven. In the next release, it'll be directly in the UI. So if I go ahead and get this, I'll log out.
This is payback to
ChaosSearch.
Payback to Taz for Monday's stream. We streamed with Auth0, and Taz used me as the bad actor that was not authenticated or authorized to do anything at this party that he was describing. So it's a little payback.
That's right. That's right. Our Auth0 bouncer was keeping AM out.
Actually, we're big fans of Auth0. We use those folks over there. They're a good group of folks over there. So
I love Auth0. They're one of my favorites. I've used them for 3 or 4 years now. Their product is so solid. It's so great.
Nice.
So I messed up. I'm getting some error. Taz still has access to everything, but I know exactly what
you can't keep me down.
As Kevin indicated, we're bringing out the UI controls for admin. Right now, all the people who use our role base is what's called the embedded version, where they have multiple users and multiple, customers to customers. That's where the key that we've been focused on. But using single sign-on to control access from the account perspective is easy to go and set up. So I guess we'll have to do. So we did Return of Chaos, and then what's the Star Wars version again for the third one?
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. Return of Chaos. No.
Revenge of the Chaos.
Revenge of the Chaos. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's our story, Kevin. What you got? Anything else?
No, that's our story. I'm sticking to it. Well,
I saw some cool.
Your story, your vision. I'm just supporting it because I'm a huge believer in it.
No, Kevin's great. He's when you reach out to us, you might see Kevin's face, and he's the guy when it comes down to getting you happy and all set up.
I saw some cool visualizations in there as well. I'm sure that's using Kibana.
Yeah,
or do you have your own?
Anything you can do in Kibana with the open distro or Elastic, you do with us. So any of those standard visualization dashboards, that's all standard work. So it really clearly is that everything that you see in the Kibana is standard Kibana. We have not touched it. We have not changed it. Because what we do is we export the Elastic API onto our data fabric, which is onto S3. And so the advantage of that is we get to build in all this tooling that companies like Amazon have helped build out and Elastic to build out to benefit ultimately the customer. So the one thing that we've done is just made Kibana better with respect to progress and canceling and tracking. Kevin's so excited, he's got to run around the house.
Hey, we all get there sometimes.
Enjoy. So I don't want to jinx it. But so far, this time around has gone pretty smoothly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So far, so good. I haven't seen the stream drop. Now that being said, it was me hosting this time. It wasn't on AM's. I'm not pointing fingers. Just stating a fact.
That is fair. I can't argue that.
Correlation and causation are the same, I think is what I remember from college. I don't remember. It's been a while.
No.
Did I miss that lesson?
I think that's not quite true. But
okay, I must have missed that lesson.
We need the data. We need to put it in S3. Then we need to analyze it with ChaosSearch to figure out.
That's right.
Causation.
That's it. As simple as that. Store and ask. Store everything, ask anything.
I wanted to ask too about that refinery section.
What's that? Sorry, there's 3 people. Say one.
I'll go ahead. I wanted to ask about that refinery section too, and to get a little bit more insight on what that is for and what you all are doing with that.
So the idea is, indexing data is an important aspect to your analytics, right? Creating up index patterns to segment your data. The refinery really has 2 primary goals. The ability to bring together multiple indices into one new index pattern, and the ability to select what column, what attributes you want, and then the ability to transform data within, say, an index to, say, as Kevin showed, take an IP address and bring out all those subnets out of it. So it's both a way to provide lenses. It has aspects of role-based access control to provide views to customers, as well as the ability to transform the no ETL thought viewpoint. So a view to us, like you think a relational table, is both an index pattern as well as a table in relational, but over one logical view. And unlike a view in, say, SQL, where it's only memory backed, it's more like a materialized view from a scale perspective. But the difference is you have to restore it to make it persistent because the indices empower that. So the refineries really are hidden, secret jewels kind of thing of you have storage, you have this system in the middle that allows you to create whatever you want to see, and then you have your standard visualization and APIs. And so the refinery is what has really this technology has enabled it. Because you guys know this, the ETLing at petabyte scale or creating different lenses to bring them together, re-indexing, you don't want to do any of that. You just want to create a new view, add in the attributes, add in the data sources, and to the Kibana visualization, it's just another index pattern.
Yeah, the way I explain it usually on demos is magic.
No, but this is part of a real key to our architecture and index technology is to make materialization fast, make transformation fast, and every query we do off of S3 is actually late materialized, and it's a natural act for us to do any type of transformation in that. And again, we do it at high performance, and that's the key aspect. So, cost and scale with these lenses is a powerful concept. You kind of think of it, not saying it's like a warehouse, view like a snowflake, but it's that kind of concept where you're creating different views into your data versus re-indexing your data. And then the ability to transform those data so it feels physical, it looks physical, it acts like a new attribute within your data source.
Yeah, and we have some of these on the website too. So like, if you just quickly want to take ones that we already have, and that there are certain transformations that you want to do. Hopefully I grabbed the right one. Yeah, you can go through, you can chop those IP addresses up, you can take, I think, this is EOB.
And so each one of those new columns can be aggregated, can be searched, right? So just think of that, you're taking that one physical column and creating logical, but to you, physical additional columns that can perform classic Kibana Elastic analytics on. And so, but here's the thing, if you had a petabyte of data and you had to go do that physically, good luck.
Right. And now sorry, Thomas, go ahead.
No, and so that's a key aspect, right? Is maybe you have a URL that is, 5 meg. We have customers that have URLs that are huge, and they just want to pull out different aspects of that URL to do analytics on it. Here's a great place to do it in.
Yep. So like now looking at that IP, and we can change it into the IP and the port.
Looking at that previous site that you were showing with the regex snippets, to me that looks like a place that I wish I would have known about when I was going through college as a stats major.
Yeah.
We had classes where it was just like, here, write these regexes as a homework assignment. It looks like you have probably half of one of my assignments listed out there.
Yep. I actually, earlier, Kevin, I'm so sorry, but I'm not sorry. This is a sorry, not sorry situation. I volunteered you as a service, Kevin as a service, to write regexes for anyone who needs it, just to contact.
So here's the funny thing. The more we automate, Kevin gets mad because he's like, I'm a wicked good regexer, right? But we chose regex because it's just a well-known language. It describes things in a very well-known way. So it's a good solution for us. But Kevin has become the master of regex, and he's very proud of it. So ask him about his regex skills if you ever get a chance.
You should have seen the two I wrote today. Oh boy, those logs. Those were something else.
Kevin, I have to ask, do you have a specific tool outside of ChaosSearch? I mean, maybe you only use ChaosSearch for like parsing or validating regexes, or do you just freehand it all? I don't know.
So now I've gotten to the point where not to toot my own horn, but so I run and maintain our documentation page. So a lot of the stuff that's in here is kind of like helpful to me, which is why it's in here, outside of just helping everybody else. So I mostly use the platform itself, and I'll pick and steal from these different regex templates that I have. It's like a timestamp, it's always going to be this or some variation of this. So I'll grab that, I'll copy it. Same with like IP addresses. Most of the time I just do it freehand, unless I have some weird issues. Then I'll go to something like regex 101. But a lot of them, I've built out our team, especially our engineering team, has done a fantastic job of building out a ton of them to auto-populate within the platform itself, which is extremely helpful. And then obviously supporting me in getting them built. One of the ones that we worked on was for CloudTrail logs. For some reason, somebody wanted to break up the actual ARN itself on the KMS specific fields. So if you want to actually do that, we have a regex in here, so you can go through and you can see every available kind of resource. I'll show you an actual picture of it that shows up within those specific fields itself, that if you want to search on it, look at the service, the partition, the region, the resource type, the account ID, all of that information, it's in here. So it's pretty cool what you can do, you know, fairly quickly within the platform itself instead of having to write code.
And I think object creation, we link out to regex 101. So if anyone has questions, there's so much documentation on regular expressions. It's a very powerful language, and it's complicated, but it's complicated for a purpose because data sources can get complex. If you want to override any of our default schema analysis, regex is the way we recommend customers do.
Right. And like I always tell people, you weren't hired to write grok patterns or regex. I was hired to write regex, not grok patterns. So just send me whatever you need parsed.
Kevin is the service.
Exactly.
Love it.
The other day, I was like eating dinner, and Mo, who we mentioned earlier, he asked me a question, like a regex question. He's like, I need to do this. And I was pretty proud that like on my cell phone, I just like pinned out some regex, and I was like, cross my fingers, like tell me if it works. And it did. It was like the proudest I've been of myself in like years. It wasn't anything too crazy, but like I was like, yeah, it always feels good when you nail it.
Listen, I'll give it to you guys. I can't stand doing irregular expressions. I like computer science theory, information theory. I'll look to Kevin or Tazu to solve my regular expression needs. I don't even want to bring up XPath for those who know that horrible world as well. So regular expressions is really a great way to go. And now we have experts all over the place to help folks get their data needs resolved.
I will say though, my favorite logging format is JSON. So.
Oh.
Self-describing.
The indexes, I don't have to do anything.
You don't hear anybody say XML anymore, do you? Like at all, ever?
Thank goodness. And if you've ever done XPath queries, yikes. So hey, regex has been around for a while, and it's shown its power, its value, and we love it here at Chaos.
Cool. Taz, do you want to give another recap for anybody who's just joining?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we have had a couple of folks join in, some new viewers as well. So we are Howdy Partner, and basically what that is it's a twice a week show. It airs at 2 p.m. Pacific. And what we do is we invite partners on to talk about their amazing products that can help you expand your work on the AWS cloud. And today we have got ChaosSearch with us. And if you haven't gathered from the past couple of minutes, they help you make sense of data, especially like the log data. And what's more is they do it by turning your S3 as the source of truth, basically, for all of your logs, and then apply an Elasticsearch-like features on top of that. And so it's a really, really amazing platform that allows you to, like you were talking earlier, it was like, what, 20 terabytes, and you were able to get up and running and doing analysis within 5 minutes or something like that? Like, it's amazingly quick.
If you have lots of data in S3, ChaosSearch can get access to it and provide analysis within hours. So terabyte scale per day is where we really shine. So log data gets big, log data gets expensive, and that's where Chaos comes in.
Yeah,
sure. And a reminder to everybody on the chat as well, like if you have some questions, that's what we're here to do, is to answer those.
All right, so I'm going to ask Kevin and Thomas for probably some parting words of wisdom, things that you want to highlight, things that if I want to get started, how do I do it? I think this is a good one that we covered a little bit earlier. But to a brand new ChaosSearch user, if you were to give them, one piece of advice, what would that be?
Do you want to start, Kevin?
No, I'll let you start.
So if you're new to Chaos, you're not new to Amazon S3, you're not new to cloud services. ChaosSearch transforms your S3 storage into an analytical database for log analysis and the future BI analysis at scale, at a unique price point, and ease of use that's unmatched.
All right, Kevin, your turn.
I would really say if you need to index and log data, which everybody does, and you don't want to deal with any unknowns or uncertainty or complexity, just honestly just reach out, because you could take your entire infrastructure, log it, send it to S3, and never have to worry about any additional hardware, engineering resources, or wasted time on issues or things like that. So really check it out, because it is pretty cool what we're doing, who we're working with, and what we plan to do in the future with VPC and SQL and things like that. So if you have data and you want to analyze it, then definitely check it out, because 5 minutes to search on 20 terabytes is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we talked earlier. You go to ChaosSearch's, you go to their webpage. There is a free trial link. Click on that to get started. But I also saw next to this, I wanted to ask this, Kevin, there's a Get Demo button. If I click that, do you appear? Do I get to hang out with you?
So you have to click it 3 times for me appear.
Okay.
You click it once, then a form appears, but the 3rd time I appear.
Okay. I was going to say if you clicked it once, maybe Thomas appeared, but then 3 times, Kevin.
Well, you got to click it like 30 times for Thomas to appear.
Okay.
You have to go through me 10 times before you can get to Thomas.
So the next time I want to hang out with you, I just click this get a demo button.
Yeah, but it's like a genie, and I always get annoyed that I gotta show up someplace,
Yeah. You can interact with our chatbot too.
So Homicidal Burger, what a great Twitch handle, by the way. Homicidal Burger asks, what are your favorite lesser utilized features of the product?
Ooh, great question.
That's a really good question.
I think Homicidal Burger is probably a plant. That must be somebody that works for you too. I don't know.
Just
kidding.
I gotta be honest. I use ChaosSearch for our own service, and the ability to do wildcard searching, prefix wildcard searching at scale without putting Elastic to its knees is, a lot of people certainly they don't choose to do because the fear of hurting your cluster. Prefix wildcarding on tons of data. We say go for it. And so we think about it, when you're a coder and you create all these logs, you can't remember what you did last year. What was that? I don't know. Let me star, A, question mark, star, B, 12, star, send it. And, I do more wildcard searching to debug things in a distributed system. So not that it's unknown, but it's just not recommended. We recommend it.
You can always hit that cancel query button too, right?
Yeah, that's my favorite part. I screw up queries all the time. It's not even funny. So just the ability to drop this and not have to bug engineering with some stupid thing that I did is probably my favorite.
Okay, we had a question from Tesseract. Top learnings from customers that use ChaosSearch.
Well, for me, we've had this data lake philosophy, and people come to us as a logging solution, which we are. But once they see that, oh, adding a new workload is instantaneous, they come to us and say, you're a data lake solution. And we say, yes, but we don't kind of tell that story until they get comfortable and see the offering. So it's been, I would say, surprising how all these customers have come to us identifying us as a data lake philosophy offering, because they say, it's so easy to add new workloads. And that's been a surprise, where I thought most people would come in, they want to solve their ELB log analysis problem. But then they quickly switch to, wait a second, I can add any workload on the fly immediately. We're like, yeah. They go, well, this is like a data lake. And so that's been a surprise to me, that how quickly they come to that realization.
And then Tesseract had a follow-up question. What's the best practice you recommend now that you learned over time with your customers?
I mean, one more thing, Kevin, I'll let you jump, is the ability to store your data now. So if you plan to use ChaosSearch or something like us, store your data. Make sure you're collecting that data, because once you don't have it, you don't know what's going on. And so to any customer, if you're thinking about using ChaosSearch, start storing your data in S3, then come to us and we'll provide analysis for it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest recommendations that or learnings that I've had with customers, and even now being with the company almost over a year and a half, is really just keep it simple. You can add as many S3 buckets into your account as you want, but really it's, if you're going to have one single bucket, then create the prefixes for the data source. If you're going to do a bucket per data source, do it that way, because whatever is going to be the easiest for you, it's just going to be that much easier for you to work within the platform itself. We've had customers that, they wish they had that type of setup, but they didn't. We can still make it easy, again, by searching on different parameters within these different filter options here. But I think early on, have a setup that makes sense, whether it's one with many prefix or many buckets and then one prefix or one data source within that bucket.
Yeah, I feel like with this type of stuff, like one way or another, you're going to have to organize yourself. And so do it at the beginning as opposed to later on, and it'll just save you so much more time.
Yep. And then one of the cool things and kind of big learnings that I've had is, again, if you just have, say, one specific, if we go back to the Kubernetes logs, if in that Kubernetes cluster, you're logging some type of customer ID or something like that, and you want to expose those logs to the customers, you don't have to create, 30, 40, 1,000 different indexes or object groups. You can create one object group, and then again, the refinery allows you to have different views or lenses into that data, and we can use that key to focus on to say, okay, here, if we select that specific field and value, this is going to be, the customer ID, and then from there we'll build, this view for that customer, and not have to manage, again, additional storage, hardware, compute, resources, 15,000 Jira tickets to manage all of that within probably 10 minutes. And if you don't want to do it, you could reach out to our customer success team or Mike, and we could get it spun up for you. So the time savings and the value that you can extract within very little time, to me, I think has been the most eye-opening for a lot of our newer customers that have come on board, where they thought it was going to be a huge learning experience and learning curve, but really it's storage section, add my filter correctly, and then I can search data within 5 minutes. Then after 3 or 4 times, it's pretty easy to type the data source I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'll add to that. One thing, we have to kind of untrain everyone a little bit on how data flow works, right? Where typically you spend your time setting up your cluster and then you start moving your data. Where we start with your storage, we start with where your data lives, and it's just kind of an inverted way of seeing it. Obviously, it's greatly simplifies your workload, but it's something that you have to kind of not untrain, but really have them rethink that. And then when the light bulb goes off, they're like, oh, I get it. Starting with storage makes things so much easier, but again, using the same APIs and visualization that you're used to. So that we knew that was going to be an important aspect, but when people see it and get it, they're like, why haven't we been doing this since day one?
And that's where all those different data sources kind of spring up, where it's like, oh, well, I mean, geez, if it took me 15 minutes to get CloudTrail up and running, how quickly can I get ELB logs up and running? And then before you know it, you have, 5 different applications up and running, a few different AWS services. So yes, you're building a logging pipeline, but really without even knowing it after the first month, well, I mean, shoot, now you have 100 terabytes indexed, searched. So now really you have a data lake that you can search on and expose to different users and different teams. And you didn't have to do anything else or additional to even acquire that.
So Tesseract just asked, oh, you got it, Tess? Go ahead.
You got it. You take it. Okay.
Tesseract is asking about that dashboard aspect, and I know a lot of that's Kibana. But the specific question is there a way to create a materialized view or an aggregated view that updates either daily or hourly or on some sort of set schedule, I would assume would be the...
Yeah, so all the standard dashboarding in Kibana you can do. You can use Refinery to create any additional views that can be, think of it as an index pattern. Every single time you create a view, it's seen as an index pattern within Kibana. You take those inner patterns and you create a visualization that you put in a dashboard. So to his question, that's the natural process you would do with Kibana today. Use a Refinery to create those named materialized views from there.
Cool. Kevin's given us a view of that too.
Kevin's working some magic there.
I'm working. So let's see, if we want to go ahead, we'll do date histogram, timestamp. All right, this is still like really big on my screen.
It looks pretty good on ours, so I know Kevin, big font, Kevin, you're doing a good job.
I feel like I'm looking through 2 Coke bottle lenses right now. So those materialized fields that we created, you can immediately create visualizations off of that. So if I want to look specifically at that path and then see all of those paths over the last 15 minutes, and again, if I want to take a look at domain and port aren't going to be great examples because they're all the same. I think it's example.com, but I mean, you can get a pretty good understanding that data is going to return. Those fields are immediately available. You don't have to wait. And the cool thing too, again, with those views that we're creating on those materialized fields, it's not increasing the data that we're storing in S3. It's actually not doing that at all. All it's doing is it's giving just another representation or look into that data. It's not increasing that amount of data that we're storing, which is extremely important. Obviously, where we price based off of consumption, to know that, where you can have one index that's producing 1 terabyte a day, but you have 10 different views. So really that's 10 terabytes that you're looking across for different departments or different users.
I want to call out my favorite underutilized feature, and that is Modern Art Creator. I would love to just print off this graph and put it on a wall. I feel like there's some really cool visualizations that I think I don't know. I think that's a really nice color scheme going on there.
I'll give you that. So we have some large customers that have very large data. When you're doing certain visualization where you're in the hundreds of billions, it's super cool art, right? In how they're doing the analysis. It gives you a really interesting perspective. We're a company that deals with billions, and when you visualize billions, it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, I'd put that on my wall. I think my wife might have an issue with it, but yeah.
It's your pointillism.
Database art.
Your pointillism art.
Pointillism, yeah, exactly.
Here, I'll take a screenshot of it for you.
Nice.
I expect this to be on your wall in a couple weeks.
If it's not on your fridge, I will be very upset.
I'll take a picture, and one of these episodes, maybe we'll do a travel episode, and we can see the other parts of my apartment.
Taz, if you gave a favorite underutilized feature or lesser known feature, Mine has to be the get a demo button on the website where you get to go talk to Kevin. I mean, I don't know if it's underutilized, but that's a feature that I want to use is to go talk to Kevin. So yeah, go click that button.
I'm free anytime.
Heard it here first, folks. He is free anytime.
Okay, so now is the part of the show that this is the hardest part. Right, Tez? This is where we have to just all decide on a sign-off.
It's a huge struggle each and every episode. You'd think we'd have it down now after 14 episodes or however many it's been.
Will you give ChaosSearch their options of how we sign off from the show?
So we've got a few here. So we've got y'all come back now. You hear? Giddy up. And I always forget the third one. What's the third one?
Happy trails.
Happy trails.
I got mine. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Oh.
So is it on 3? Is it once? If we all say at the same time, how's this work?
Yeah. So we have to decide as a group. What was this comment from Homicidal Purge? I thought this sign off is crashing the Twitch servers. It has been known to crash Twitch servers. You are not wrong. So generally, though, we have to agree, and then on 3 we'll all say it. So what's your vote, Thomas?
Giddy up always.
Giddy up.
Yep.
I'm good with giddy up.
Evan?
I'm a big Seinfeld fan, so giddy up.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, so be sure to go check out ChaosSearch, right? We've got a bunch of links in chat that you can peruse. Any parting words? I know we did the I think just go use ChaosSearch, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Mine would
Taz.
be-
Oh, go ahead,
Awesome.
Kevin.
Oh. Mine would be live long and use the force.
Okay.
Going to offend everybody that
Like-
ever watches this.
Yeah, you pissed off like everybody apparently, right there.
Well, now they know how to get in touch with me, so.
You didn't work in Harry Potter into that too, though. That's a third fandom that you could have pissed off. And Lord of the Rings, you could have added that in there too.
I live in the Shire, so, but I don't want copyright to come down on us again.
That's so true.
That's right. So if you all have any questions about this, or you want to yell at Kevin about conflicting fictions, he's, as he said earlier, he's always available. So.
Yes. And if you are watching for the first time, be sure to join us every Monday, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific. We actually don't have a show next Monday. With a lot of the rebooking, we've got a open slot on Monday. We may or may not be here. As it stands right now, we don't have an episode. Next Wednesday, though, we've got another serverless monitoring service on the stream. So you'll have to come check out who that is. Serverless is always fun, one of my favorite topics. But we do this every Monday, every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific. Be sure to be here. Follow the channel if you have not, and you will get notifications when any of the AWS shows go live. There are a lot of cool AWS shows. I know Taz and I have an episode coming up in the future with our very first SI partner or solutions integrator partner from the partner network. Taz, you want to give a teaser about that, or do you want to keep it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you a little teaser, and it might be relevant too to a couple of the questions that I saw come up in the chat. So we're going to have in a couple weeks Party Data Solutions come on. They're one of our SI partners, and we're going to be joined by Nikki, and she's going to talk a little bit about her journey through technology. Specifically, one of the topics we want to cover is AWS certification and what that looks like. And so if you've got any questions at all, or you're thinking about an AWS certification for yourself, that'll be a great episode to come and watch. And so just also follow our Twitter channel. That's where you'll be able to get, or is it a channel? I don't know what the terminology is for Twitter. Follow our Twitter,
Twitter feed?
Twitter feed.
Wall.
Our Twitter wall. Let's see. I'm going to start you can use fictions. I'm going to do the social medias. But yeah, follow that for updates on the exact date. It'll be a great opportunity to learn more about the certification process.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the Twitters, there's like a few of them. You could follow them. I put mine in chat. I don't tweet about anything interesting except for this show. I tweet about the show all the time. What else? Okay, cool. Yeah, we will also have a surprise guest from another AWS Twitch show on the episode Taz was describing. So you'll have to also drop in and see who that is. It's not Nikki, by the way, for anybody who's watched any shows. The Nikki that Taz is describing is a different Nikki. I know there is a very famous Nikki on the AWS Twitch channel. She won't be dropping by. But we will have another host from another AWS show coming in. So that should be fun. All right. We're ready to sign off, right? And
we are
sold on Giddy Up.
Giddy up.
So
Okay. Come check us out next time. And 1, 2, 3.
Giddy up!
All right. We'll see you next time on Howdy Partner. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Yeah.